Right, just come back from the dreaded MOT, and I think one of the reasons it's failed is a fault of mine. It says here, item 1, rear brake recording little or no effort offside, and if we go down to the bottom, offside rear parking brake lever on caliper has no reserve travel. Looking on top of the caliper and the back brake, you can see this part here is the handbrake cam, and if I move it, it moves, but it doesn't return, and it should return. So it's not seized because it moves, but it doesn't go back. So what I've decided to do, as this car is 16.5 years old, I'm going to give it some new brake cables. One of the problems of doing jobs on your drive is that you've got to get the car up high enough to be able to get under it safely. Now I've only got 2 axle stands, and I've managed to jack the car up nice and high so I can get right underneath it, and then I've put bricks under the front wheels, and I've left the jacks in. They're not actually taking any tension, but they're locked because I do not want to be squashed. So laying under the car looking forward, you can see the exhaust pipe, and you can see the bearing carrier for the prop shaft, and then up there is the bracket for the 2 handbrake cables, and that looks really rusty, so I'm going to be getting the old caramelizer on that to free that off before I try to undo it. So I'm burning the rust off, I'm trying to free it out. And fortunately there's a heat shield here, so there's not really anything I can set fire to, and I'm well away from the fuel. That is a 15mm adjustment nut that you're supposed to undo, and in the manuals they have a super long socket that gets hold of it and undoes it. Well, I haven't got one of those, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these cables off and then drop it down and then undo it. These are my World War II wire cutters, so I'm going to get under there and cut the cable ends off. Then I can drop the bracket down and try to undo the adjuster. Right, I've chopped that through. This stuff is amazingly tough. I mean, my wire cutters are pretty impressive, but it took me about 4 goes on each strand to get them off. So now I should be able to pull that off and get this down low enough so I can get at it to undo it. Right, and in order to loosen this off, I've gripped the end with some big mole grips, and I've got a ratchet spanner, and I've undone this, and this has moved about 1 centimetre, so I'm just going to move it up and down a bit to get it nice and loosened off, nice and greased up, so that when I come to put it back together it's going to be easy to do. I really recommend you getting one of these ratchet spanners, they're brilliant. This one is a 17mm, by the way. Cable splits into 2 cables and goes through the bodywork just here. So I need to pull it through here. I'm going to make sure it's got these rubber fittings on. I'm going to make sure that these go back on in the right place. Right, I could not push this through, so I've just smashed it off with a wood chisel, in fact, so that it comes out. And then it's so tenacious, this thing, I'll have to break it off. But then it comes off. There's a little plastic clip here it pops out of. Then there's a clip over there, which on mine has got a cable tie on it, and then it runs to the back of the car. Ah, there we go. So that's that part off. That runs to the back of the car. We'll get the rest of it off. Well, it's nice to get out from under the car. There's a plastic grommet here. This is actually sacrificial because I noticed the new cable has got one of these on it. So I'll probably end up breaking that to get it off, and then the cable runs off there through this conduit and up to the back of the car. Well, it took quite a hard pull to get the cable to come through this, and now I've got to get this out so that the new one can go in there. I'll probably just break that out. In fact, it turns out, result. So up here on top of the caliper here, that's the end of the cable. I should be able to just pull that out, like that. And then I need to take it out of this bracket. There's a little pull clip here. Oh, that came out really easily. Wasn't expecting that. There you go. Don't lose that. And then that should That should come out of there. I don't think I can do that with one hand. Right, so I fed the end down through here, pulled it out. This is actually really stiff because it's a steel braid, and that's it off now. So have a go at putting the new one on once I've got the other side off. Just going to quickly compare the cables just to make sure they're the right ones, because they vary from year to year. My car is a January 2001, but I saw somewhere that they vary from 2002. Anyway, these fittings all look the same. These match up. These sleeves match up. There's the little grommet. These sleeves match up, and the ends match up. The difference is though that this has got a little built-in retainer, whereas the other one there had this little clip, which I notice is missing on the other side. These are really stiff, so I'm going to crush those down a bit before I put them in, otherwise I think I'm going to be fighting with it to get it in. Right, to put this cable back on, I've brought it through the back so that the two thick rubbers that are going to sit in here and sit in here are on this side, and I've curved it around. I've pulled out the end of the cable as far as it will go and then get it located. My main problem I think is going to be getting this part in the right place. Right, I've got the cable in through and located in this bracket, and as I predicted, this fitting here with the little tags on doesn't want to go through. I've actually flattened the tags off quite considerably, so I may have to just flatten them some more to get that to push through. Right, the fitting's got a flange on it just there, so I've just put a screwdriver on it and gently tapped it in with a big hammer. Right, before I feed that back into its lever, I've just checked with the screwdriver that the lever actually moves, and that's all good, so that can go back together. And then you follow the cable down and put it through the slot in the bodywork. Because this has got a split in it, it makes it much easier for it to go through there, and this is obviously to stop it wearing out on the frame. That bit was quite easy actually. Well, there's a short blue sleeve here for the grommet, and the grommet goes in the metal bracket, and I'm hoping because they're all nice and soft it just pops in. That was easy. Okay, well the cable's got to come round and go through this hole and then locate with this plastic fitting, which was the one that I couldn't undo, so that must obviously tap in there as well. So I'll get both of those in before doing up the other clips. So both of these little brackets are broken now, so I've cable tied that on. I've also made sure that the sleeving is in the correct place so that it protects it all the way around, and I've now just got to get to there to connect up the adjuster. Right, it is at this point that you realise why this thread is so long. Because these cables haven't got any give in them, any stretch at all, I'm actually going to have to undo this right down to here in order for these to even get near the locating points. Right, these have been very difficult to get in. The heads of the nipples are bigger than on the original cable, so you have to turn them right through a right angle to get them in. Now with that side that you can't see is the hard side. Do that side first. This side I've actually had to disconnect the other end of the cable and pull it through more, so I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get that back in on the other end now. Right, so I've tightened it up so these things are really tight as far as I can get that, and that feels really under tension. The interesting thing that I found out is this nut, although I was able to undo it with a 17mm spanner, it is actually a 16mm nut. And a 16mm nut is the same size as a spark plug socket. So I've been able to do it up with this spark plug socket reasonably easily. So that's been a bit of a result. All I've had to do is take the rubber tip out of there that's usually there to take the spark plug out. Right, the handbrake is self-adjusting, so you just need to pull it up. Well, it doesn't actually go up as far as it did before, which is a good sign. Do that a couple of times. That's good. Right, I've checked all the levers were moving correctly and they were compressing and then retracting. The spring was working correctly. Put the wheels back on. Let's see how stiff it is and how hard it is to turn it now. Oh, I can move that one. Oh, not far though. Oh, I can move it. That's not good. Shouldn't be able to move it. So check if I've done that up tight enough. I haven't been able to do the cables up tight enough using the other socket spanner. I went through my kit and I found this old motorcycle plug spanner, which is a 16mm plug, and as it's made out of sort of soft cheap metal, I've put it in the vise, and then using an old T-bar I've deformed it so that I can fit my ratchet into the end of it. Hopefully I'll be able to do it up with that. I've done the cable up about 5 more turns, and now I'm going to try and see that it's not going to move. So I can still slightly move it, but that may be because I've got brand new discs on there. Now with the handbrake off, I can move it. It's pretty stiff. With the brand new discs it needs about 200 miles to bed in.